Okay, so paano nagsimula itong all this hullabaloo about global warming, anthropogenic global warming, meaning tao ang naglikha nitong pag-iinit daw dahil sa industrialization and so on, at yung mga usok na binubuga ang siyang nagbibigay nitong global warming and then climate change. Well, it all began in 2006 with this book, Al Gore's An Inconvenient Truth. Naalala po ninyo? The crisis of global warming, sabi ni Al Gore. Eh, katatalo lang yan ng vice presidency, di ba? And some say this was parang consuelo de bobo na binigay ng global powers that be. Na, ito, bibigyan ka namin because of this book ng Nobel Prize. At binigyan nga siya. Ano? And yung pinagbasehan niya, yung mga studies naman nitong si Mann, M-A-N-N, ano, yung the hockey stick climate and the climate wars. No? Mamia will show you what the hockey stick means. Ano? This is a scientific graph. Ano? Many after some years turned around, ano? And saw na mukhang malaking deception itong hockey stick and so on. And one of them is the co-founder of Greenpeace, si Moore. What's his first name? Patrick Moore. And here is Patrick Moore. Greenpeace co-founder Patrick Moore tells U.S. Senate, there is no proof humans cause climate change. Ayan po. So let's go to Michael Macabenta Alunan. Ano bang history mo dito sa issue na to? Since you are so involved with all these public issues and global issues.
Essentially, I'm an inquisitive fellow, and the internet is a treasure trove of knowledge. No? And before we depended on hard books for knowledge. Now at the click of a finger, you can explore anything. And for every issue, you can check the counter issue, and you'll see a lot of opposing views. And you discover a lot yourself, no? In searching, surfing, browsing all of these websites around. Like for instance, we're talking about climate change. There's even a website, iloveco2.com, and you'll be amazed by all the convincing counter arguments.
WhatsApp, WATT. What's up? Si Alan Watts naman yan, one of the skeptics, no?
And even Al Gore should have been spelled, his book should have been spelled The Convenient Lies.
Okay, yeah.
But it's cloaked in the inconvenient.
So, tinanggap mo ba initially yung theory na man-made global warming, na tao ang may kasalanan dito sa climate change and so on?
His arguments are very faulty because he dug.
So from the very beginning, you were skeptical already?
I was skeptical. I mean, whatever is fed us by, call it propaganda or the conventional news or facts.
Mainstream media.
Mainstream, you try to check what's out there. And you'll be surprised, you'll discover a lot. No? And voluminous counter arguments. No? So that's when you begin to rethink.
So hindi mo talaga kinagat itong theory na to from the very beginning. You examined it because a lot of people talagang
they swallow things hook, line, and sinker.
Hook, line, and sinker. Isang nakatulong sa akin na ako'y agad-agad na naging skeptical at tiningnan ko ng mabuti dahil kay Lyndon LaRouche. Kasi nung unang lumabas yan, sinabi na ni Lyndon LaRouche, hindi totoo yan. Ang tingin kay Lyndon LaRouche, fringe intellectual, sobrang conspiracy theories,
etc.
and so on. Actually, si Lyndon LaRouche nga, kinulong ng American establishment dahil siya ay lumaban sa eleksyon.
For no solid grounds.
They use some mail fraud issue against him and so on. But yun nga, ang tingin ng even my brother, si Henson, they thought LaRouche is just a crackpot. Ano? But we go through that, tayong mga skeptics, and we try to examine all sides. No? And so, you did not bite, and from the very beginning you were an active skeptic, or you were just observing and allowing it to go on until some point that you decided you had to be more vocal about it?
There are two things in my nature that somehow makes me inquisitive. One, a strong intellectual background in UP. Secondly, I was an activist at one time. So you always question convention, no? Third, I became a journalist most of my professional life. So as a journalist, you try to gather all sides. When you review an issue, you get the counter
Well,
opinion.
not all journalists are like that. No?
Yeah. So, but there's a tendency. I mean, pretty soon, all these journalists, if they get to discover counter argument, they have no choice but also give the other side, no?
Yeah, but the problem with some journalists, it's both sides, left pocket or right pocket. That's the problem. That is what we do not see in you, no? So, yeah, that's why we take your column seriously, what you write. You know? So, were you an active, meaning talagang lumalaban ka doon as a skeptic dito sa global warming, anthropogenic, man-made global warming theory?
Yeah, I'm more involved in clean air. That's why my mission is emission impossible.
Okay.
I'm against emissions, no? And that's where the bigger problem is, air pollution. In fact, 85,000 die every year. Filipinos, they die from
Asthma,
pneumonia,
bronchitis,
etc., no? And
which I
lung
agree
cancer, etc.
Pero,
And these are all curable and preventable. They just die simply because of poverty.
Yeah.
I mean,
ang
or
problema
lack to
doon sa
access
mga
to medication.
environmentalists, sasabihin nila, ay, hindi, you're not you don't believe in anthropogenic or man-made global warming. Therefore, you're polluting the environment. You don't want to stop pollution.
There's a big difference between air pollution and the greenhouse gas. Like CO2. What is CO2? Dry ice. What's dry ice? That's CO2. Refrigerant.
That's
CO2.
compressed CO2, no?
Yeah.
Dry ice, no?
So, there's a lot of, it's a total hoax, I mean, CO2. And if you study the figures, you dig it up, about a century, 2 centuries back, the levels of CO2 was 290 or so parts per million. Now they're claiming it's 400, so they're alarmed about the 400 parts per million. But you divide 400 divided by 1 million.
Yeah.
It's insignificant to be able to cause this global warming. I mean, man-made. So I mean, and of that CO2 levels, I think 3/4 or so are caused by natural, let's say, natural evaporation from the ocean, the fourth volcanic eruption, etc. And then it's not, the man-made is much smaller.
Yeah.
And if you look at, I'll just cite some figures. No? For instance, another greenhouse gas is water vapor. No? And more so in tropical countries, water vapor is very, it's even 85% is a worldwide average, stronger than CO2. And it's 2.1 million% more in volume compared to CO2 in the atmosphere. And more so in tropical countries like the Philippines, where humidity is very high.
Yeah.
In fact, when you have a glass of water, cold water, there's a condensation that drops of water, beads of water around your glass.
That's right.
It's because of the water vapor in the room. And it condenses and forms those beads of water. So that means water vapor is...
Sa panahon ng Disyembre, Nobyembre, Enero, malamig ang panahon, hindi tumataas na mabilis yung dew and yung moisture. Yun, you feel the pollution, di ba?
Yeah.
It's the same thing eh. Kung summer, mas mabiling tumaas, because of the water vapor nga. Anyway, tuloy mo.
So, yun yung... And yet, there's so much about the CO2. Water vapor, without water, it'll be 14% colder. And CO2, why are they against CO2? And you can gather all the theories there and the arguments. They don't want CO2 in the same way they don't want chlorofluorocarbon, because chlorofluorocarbon, they blame it's enlarging the ozone layer. But it's got nothing to do with the ozone layer, because the chlorofluorocarbon increase or decrease, but the ozone enlarged and shrunk. It's more about the magnetic.
Mo yung background ng chlorofluorocarbon.
Chlorofluorocarbon, it's a coolant. It's a coolant. You need it in refrigeration and air conditioning. And with refrigeration, you need cold storage to store food on a mass scale. I mean, to feed your population, you need cold storage. When you ban that, let's say in countries like Africa, depressed, backward countries, you will not allow the population or people to
Enjoy the
the comfort, and you feed them, to feed them.
convenience of the refrigeration.
Without cold storage. So when you ban cold storage through CFC indirectly, you're depriving them of that
That's right.
opportunity.
Well, dyan sa
Same with CO2,
CFC,
because CO2, when you industrialize, you need, CO2 is a natural product. So, and there's so much, a lot of fuss about CO2. But if you look at CO2, no, over the last 600 million years, let me quote, no, these are data from Moore, no. We can discuss about more later, no.
Patrick Moore
CO2 levels were even 2,000 parts per million. Kung 400 parts ngayon,
That's right.
2,000. So, which is at 2,000 parts per million, it's ideal for plant growth. So when you push for agriculture, you need green. The environments are for green. Let's push more CO2.
That's right. That's right.
That's what you can find in iloveco2.com.
Oh.
And it was more who said, no? That in fact, there's a group also, Industrial Scientific. It's a journal or something, no? It asserts that CO2 exposure causes headaches only at 30,000 parts per million. So at 400,
talking about
what's
the
fuss?
advantages of CO2 and global warming, the Russians would be very happy kasi bubukas ang Siberia. Yung napakalamig ngayon, iinit yan, makakapagtanim na sila.
In fact, yung Greenland, which used to be tundra,
Yeah,
all ice for
all
so
ice,
long,
yeah.
now it's turning green because of, quote-unquote, they're saying global warming.
That's right, yeah.
I believe there is global warming,
Well,
but that's not because of man-made.
That's right. Bakit nga Greenland ang tawag ng Greenland?
Because it used to be green.
It used to be green.
Oh, it used to
There
be
was a
green.
warm period na green yan at nagsettle ang mga Vikings dyan and so
And if
on.
you look at, even in literature, like Chaucer's of Britain, the Canterbury Tales, there are a lot of mention in the literature. There are even pictures and sketches of, let's say, that there were ice age, mini ice age, like say, people skating on the Thames
That's
River,
right, yeah.
and names and sites in all over Britain
That's
of
right.
vineyards, vine hills, vinery. I mean, it's in the lexicon and in the sites, geographical sites, which means there were warm periods and mini ice ages,
mini ice
regardless
ages,
of the volume, the ups and downs of the CO2 levels. So it's all this all CO2 thing, this all climate change, Kyoto Protocol, the Copenhagen, this COP21. These are all
Kyoto Protocol, for
everyone,
example, si Trump withdrew from it, but China is now leading it. But China is a country that has never believed in the man-made global warming theory. Pero they're happy to take over because they're the biggest producer of solar panels, bigger producer
it's
of
okay.
windmills.
Well, that's a different story.
But the point there is, India and China did not subscribe to the man-made global warming because they were aware, as we will later quote President Duterte, that this was a gimmick of the Western elite to try to convince the third world, huwag na kayong mag-industrialize. And maraming negosyong ginawa dyan. Carbon trading, for example, and so on. Which we will discuss in detail in our third segment. We have a longer third segment to go into the details of these issues. Let's take this break.